Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's November 30th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and it's Thursday. No chart lessons on Friday, so this will wrap up our week. Won't be back till Monday. So, looking at our daily chart here, we actually traded lower today and ended up closing trading up before the day was over and closing higher. So, kind of a backwards day from what we've been seeing. We've been trading up and then closing off. Today we traded down and then closed up. So we're just still working sideways. You really could just about draw a what's wrong, little channel here. It looks like so. You see we did close back inside that channel today. So we're still just chopping sideways, it looks like, for now. Will we go higher or go lower? We'll just have to wait and see. But there it is um, on the daily chart. And it was mostly sideways until late in the late morning when it started. Actually, it was just after lunch. It started rallying and rallied up into the close. It backed off the highs. We didn't close at the highs, but it's not far off the highs. So kind of an interesting day. But let's flip over there and take a look. And here it is. You can see we went sideways quite a bit. We traded down early, so we opened up down here close to where we closed yesterday, and we just kind of chopped around. We broke lower here, but we couldn't sustain it. It failed. Got back in the channel, and then finally we rallied. Most of the buying came after 2:30. Most of the buying and selling seems to come in the overnight. We seem to always be moving up during the after hours or non-regular trading hours. We always seem to be going higher, and then we go down when the regular market session's opening. So I know the volume's a lot thinner when it's we're in those gray areas. So that's why it moves them like it does, in my opinion. So they tried to take it lower and couldn't, and we looked like we were trying to make a measured leg, and you see how many times we tried to go lower. And a market that doesn't go lower will eventually go higher. That's a good sign. When we couldn't make this target, started going higher, was a good sign that we were probably going to go higher, which we did. And you can see we went a measured move based on this original range to the highs, almost to the tick, and then kind of sold off from there. So there's the big picture on the day on the 2000 tick chart. But let's zoom in here, go through the trades. We did have some 7:30 news this morning, so I'll block that out. So you couldn't really get started until after that. Didn't really affect much. You can see there's a little bit of craziness there, but nothing really to write home about. We were kind of going sideways, and then we had a little failed break lower. And this was a higher low that broke lower first and turned up. You could enter that on the engulfing bar or wait for it to close. You'd still have room to get out. Quick, easy scalp, nothing more than that out of it, unless you exited up here at the highs. And then we turned down. Unfortunately, you don't get a good setup right there to go short. It turns out to be a really nice move down, and then we're just chopping sideways. But notice you got a 1, 2, 3 triple test with a fairly decent bar there. Plenty of room to get out there. I like that one. It did go lower, but you didn't get any kind of long-term runners or anything. You might have looked at this like a failure, but we're really back in the range. So, and you see it did bounce there a few times before it went lower. So I really don't think you can take that trade. Notice we did make a new high right there, and you try to go higher once, twice. So that's a failure if it turns down. It doesn't set up perfect. We're still in this little micro correction, so I'm not crazy about it. I marked it green. If you want to be a little aggressive, maybe you take that if it breaks below that bar, if it's a failure. And it would have been a great trade. You would have got a runner too. Um, but, do you take that trade? Sometimes it looks a little congested too there if you look. We come back to the trend line here. Just a first entry and no signal bar. Finally come back again here. Still in that channel. I think you need a second entry or lower high, and that comes down here, and you can't go short into that support because this is what happens. It's tempting to go long here because we do get the break in two legs to a new low, and then we get a higher low, but that just looks a little congested to me. Runs up, you get a higher low here, but you can't enter there, and then you're chopping sideways, and there's no entries there, and it runs down again. Closeout, well, it's kind of questionable if you get a close outside there, but you do get a move outside a new low. But I think this is the true close outside, and it tried to make a new low and couldn't. And notice you get a first entry, second entry here, and that's a little sideways too, like it's a little failed breakout. It was just mostly trending lower there, so it's like a second entry and a higher low off this low. Key here, you'd probably want room back to that EMA, but this turns out you get a runner here most likely, and it takes off, runs all the way to the highs. You do get a break of this green channel in UI, but no setup there. There's a lower high here, but I don't like that signal bar. We're still above the EMA. We run on down, bounce again. I don't think you want to go long there. If you draw this, this is the break of the khaki channel really, so this is your retest to the low, and then it goes higher. I don't like going long there. I want to wait on a higher low. I didn't mark this, but technically you could have entered that. It broke lower first and turned up. I like entering it on the engulfing bar. When this didn't break above it, it looks congested. So if you didn't enter on the engulfing bar, don't enter this trade. It would have worked, but there's always a chance it doesn't. So if you entered on the engulfing one, you're okay there. But if you waited for this to close and get a break above it, when this didn't close above it, that looks like congestion. So just stick away from it. And you see it broke out, failed, and turned down. Again, no way to get in this to the downside. And you got a first entry, second entry, but signal bar is no good there. You don't want to enter on that mid inside bar. But notice it comes back and fails and turns down. You could enter that on the engulfing bar as well. I wouldn't wait till here to go short because you see you would have got burned. But on the engulfing bar, it's fine. There's 2 points there, so you'd have been okay on the if you entered on the engulfing. Just don't wait till here to go short. Comes back. You might have looked at that as a triple test. This made a higher. You get a break here in a new high, and you got this running down, and you get a close outside new low. So it's really hard to know where we're going from here. I don't think I would risk that to the short side. You might look at that as a triple test. It's a possibility, but we just came off the lows of the range. Double bottom there, so it's a good chance we're going to go higher. So I'm just not crazy about it. It works, and then this is all too congested, but we finally break higher and pull back and make a higher low. I like entering that on a higher low. There's actually a second entry here. I didn't mark it. It looks a little congested, but we're coming off the lows. If there was a little more room to this there's still resistance across here, and that's the reason I'm not crazy about it. You still have to take that resistance into account. And you can see there's not but a point there. So that's why I don't like that trade. It runs on up, turns down. This is a third entry, and that's the first close outside, so you can't really go short there. We are a long way away from the EMA. But when this didn't break lower, it looks like congestion again. It ends up coming on down, and finally you get you get 1, 2, 3, at least a triple test there. And you do have room here, so I like going short on that. We don't get a lower high or anything. It comes back, and we turn down again. No setups there. This does look like a first entry, second entry failure, but you got this support down here. This probably, you might have moved it down a little bit by that point, but you know, I marked it green. I'm not crazy about that, because you don't know that you're going to keep going lower here, even though it does end up finding a trend line. I just think that's a little risky. And I don't really see anything else here I like. And you finally get the break and a second entry here. Notice you're coming up first entry, second entry. And it does get a close outside a new high all in one bar on a second entry I like. Again, I marked it because we just came off the lows and we haven't got back to the highs yet. So it's kind of that no man's land. It is a second entry though. We do expect a possible retest on this cyan colored channel. So I think you're okay to take that. I did make it green though. It's a little aggressive, so it's you really need to understand what's going on there. The only reason you might be going lower is there might be a retest on this cyan channel. And it does. It runs down there, makes a new low, and where does it go? It turns straight up. This was a second entry long here too. If you draw this channel, Let's give it a different color here. But you see, we do get a close outside new low, and we bounce right off the lows, and it is a second entry long. Now, I didn't mark it. I mean, that's a pretty good downtrend by that point, and we're looking for a measured leg down way down here. So I'm not crazy, but it's not a super steep channel, so maybe you argue for that to be green. Turns out to be a good trade, but you just don't know what's going on there. And of course, it turns down and it confirms that trend line. You get a lower high right here with a bearish bar. I like going short there, and you get a runner on that one. And where does it go? It runs down here to the lows, but instead of going straight back up, it kind of works sideways. There's a failed break out there, but there's not enough room to get out. Then there's a failed break lower, but we didn't quite get to the other side of the channel, so I don't like going long there. And because we came up short, it might mean we get a break, and notice what happens. We get a break on the other side. And notice how we tried to go higher 3 times there. You could call that a triple test. This breaks higher and fails. I like going short on the engulfing bar there. Even if you wait, I think the bar, you're a little close to the EMA, although we're probably going to go lower. And the EMA, I'm not so much worried about it there, but there's always a chance it holds, even if only temporarily. And you see that's exactly what happened here before it broke lower. It never really went anywhere higher, but it could have. And so that makes going short here at the low a little bit risky if you didn't enter on the engulfing bar. There's like 2 points if you use the engulfing bar, which your entry would have been 1 tick below these 3 matching bars, and you're probably going to run some stops there. Runs on down. There's no other chance to really enter here, and then you get 2 legs up. Notice you get a first entry, and then when it breaks below here, it's a second entry. There's a little bit of stem there. And that's a fairly large bar, 11 ticks. It's just not a perfect signal bar. It is a second entry short. We are looking for prices to make a new low here, both on the khaki channel and the cyan channel. So we're looking for prices to go lower. That would be your expectations, but timing is everything, and this one's kind of hard to time like this, but it is a second entry, so I marked it. I made it green, and turns out it would have been a great trade. But I'm still not crazy about it because it doesn't set up giving you a sure thing, basically. So it's a little aggressive. But now we got our breaks and new lows on everything. We start trending up. We get a close outside. We pull back, make a higher low, and then we go higher. There's no setup there. But we go higher, close outside, new high. We're chopping sideways. And notice you get a triple test here that breaks lower. 1, 2, 3. You might even count that. That's all part of the same thing. So it's really a failed break lower. But we tested that multiple times. So I like going long there. Gives you a 3 test of this low really down here almost too. So I like going long there. There's enough room to get out. This turns out to be one of the trades of the day because this thing just takes off. There's a higher low here, but too congested. Not really a good spot. The trend line hadn't been confirmed. And we'd look for a measured leg up. And notice we don't quite get a measured leg. And then it sells off and comes back. And again, I don't see anything down through here that really sets up that you can enter. And you get the khaki channel. You get a close outside, move to a couple of swings to a new low. And a perfect measured move. 1, 2. Or actually, this should have been here. Perfect measured move. 1, 2. And then it takes off. And so you might take this trade. It's a little aggressive. Waiting on a higher low is the better idea. But sometimes these pay off. And so maybe you take that one. I marked it green. It's aggressive. It's getting late in the day too, so you can't afford to be wrong. This turns out to be, this might even be the trade of the day because it takes off. I don't know that you get a runner here. I think it would have scalped you out and came back and got your runner. Depending on how you played it, of course. But if you did get a runner, it was a nice move. And you could have ridden this all the way into 3 o'clock or so. It just keeps going till you finally got a break, 2 legs up to a new high, and then it sold off from there. We sold off a little more after the opening here. And that's the way I saw it today. Big, strong, late rally there. But when you've got a target like this and you try this many times and don't make it, when you don't reach those targets, it usually means you're going to have a pretty good move in the other direction, and that's what you got here. And we got two legs up really there. There's leg one, and there's leg two, and we actually went a little higher than that. Sometimes you can look at the closes and give you a better fit, but I usually use the stems too, and we just went a little higher there. So there it is, mostly sideways. We tried to go lower, failed, and it reversed and went higher. And notice it made a measured move. This line right here is a perfect measured move based on the width of the original range there. And that's exactly where we went to, almost to the tick before it turned down. So several trades today. These days are not easy because their prices are not, it's range day, but you got some trends in here, so it makes it a little easier than just mixed trading where it's just flip-flopping back and forth without really following the micro trend rules. But you did have some trends today, and most of them followed the trend rules as well. So anyway, there it is. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up today. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you have a great one tomorrow, a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.